Yo, what is going on, everybody? Mario here in Fighting FX. And yeah, we got wrestling, boxing, MMA, basically every single combat sports in the world will be touched on at some point in this show. I would like to welcome y'all to wait, I thought it's the 17th, yes. Wednesday is Raw. And we're going to be going live on Twitch. We're going to be going live, or we are live on YouTube, Twitch, X, Facebook, IG. Oh, IG. There we go. Hey, got everybody today on time. Boom. There you go, guys. So we're going to be live on all the channels. However, two things are going to happen today that will take place later in the stream. And that is going to be a firm disconnect from YouTube. So about 3:30, probably closer to 4. Actually, it's going to depend on whether Abe and a few other guests I invited hop on today. Doomy, a few other people I invited. Also, it's going to depend on what Matt wants to do. Shout out to Matt. Oh, wait, let me ask Matt what's his channel. In my description. So yeah, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things today. I just got done doing a little stint on the Boxing Voice a few minutes ago. Shout out to everybody who's been subbing from there and hitting me up on the DM. Shout out to all the really, really nice callers that have been calling in. And, you know, some of them, they've been like, hey, man, we've missed you. Like, you're awesome. Like, you know, which is always cool. But the ones that have been like, hey, I have no idea who you are. I only started listening to TBV the last couple of years since you've been off. So your name means nothing, but I'm going to follow you based off of just this one, you know, show. Those have been the best. You know what I mean? And some have used their own super chat. I mean, I'm sorry, their own damn, bro. Look what happens when you stop getting paid. You start to forget the company's terminology. What are they called? Oh, Mex. Are you on or Matt? Anybody? Counterpunch. So like the economics of a counterpunch, right? Like that's their call. That's their like, you know, they're paying for that right to be on and to use that time to give me a shout out and plug my show because I literally always forget, right? Like I don't get paid to go on TBV these days, but the payment is going on a channel that has a very broad boxing um viewership. And so, well, is it broad? I mean, it's large. Let's put it that way. It's large. And so, you know, that's reward in itself. But to go on and have people be super cool with me and, you know, nice and that feels good. You know what it is though is I gotta stop doing this, and I'm gonna call Ness and I'm gonna have a conversation with him. I really am. I'm gonna talk to him and I'm gonna apologize. Not apologize. I didn't do anything wrong, but every time I come on, I'm like, okay, I'm coming on as me, the guy who's had his own channel for X amount of time, right? And I'm not coming on as the guy who is a TBV employee. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not coming on as the guy that works for Nestor Gibbs. But it's like I get on and that energy, it's like I start to like remember, not that I'm remembering, but it's like we're talking Crawford, right? That's what we're talking. And in my head, I'm having the conversation with the guy who called all of his fans bud tenders, the guy who called all of his fans crawfish or whatever other silly nickname was given to dismiss the legacy and the accomplishments of Bud Crawford. Now, Bud Crawford, for those that don't know, wouldn't go on the show for a while, the Boxing Voice. And I'm not giving any like company secrets or anything like that. This is Ness has talked about this himself on the show. And that's because the narrative became one where it was like the Earl Spence show, right? It's like people would call it. And it was mostly because there were more Spence callers, but also Ness always found a way to give them more time. It felt like he always seemed to validate their opinions more than the Crawford fans. And so it's like I come on and I'm having this conversation with this dude that's been disrespectful to Bud for years. But that's not him right now. Like he understands, like the accomplishment that Bud has had, or at least I feel he does. But then it's like, it's like, well, everybody goes through hate. Everybody gets hate. But tell me who got hate like Bud. Tell me. Like, I'm not even trying to say we should even be talking about it, right? Because the point that was made earlier, first of all, the show was based off of Andre Ward's comments about people giving him his flowers. And the idea is that Bud fans feel like after years of disrespect from his own promoters, from PBC, from Barbershop, and what is it? The Lions Den, LDBC community, from basically every facet of boxing. There is not one corner of the internet within the boxing community that has ever been nice or friendly to Bud, or the idea that Bud is the guy. They've been disrespectful towards his ability to draw, star power, his ability, his talent, pound for pound wise, who he fought, resume, all of that for years. So do I blame Bud fans if they're a little more aggressive in their celebration? I don't. Why is it okay? Why is it okay for LA to burn itself to the ground when the Lakers win? Why is it okay for Philadelphia to flip over their own damn cars? Why is it okay for all these sports towns, Boston, and to go out and, celebrate in this chaotic, crazy way? Why is it that? And then for Bud fans who have felt so marginalized for years, who believed in this guy, everybody thought it was a joke. Listen to me. This wasn't just, people were picking Canelo. No, the people picking Canelo believed it was an absolute farce and a joke to pick Crawford. And you know what? They were partly right. That size advantage was crazy. Anyone believing that a fighter could overcome that ability combined with that level of fighting, they had to be one of the greats. So yeah, you were probably surprised because you never thought Bo was one of the greats. And so again, I'm having this conversation with these guys, and I feel myself taking on this mantle that I don't want to take at all. For the JPs of the world, for listen, I'm not even going to go through the list of names, right? They know who they are, and they know that from day one they were avid that Terrence Bud Crawford was the number one pound for pound fighter in the world. That's what it was. Supermex. It's not okay. It's not okay. That's classless behavior. Philly and Bud fanatics are one in the same. Okay, fine. Fine. Yeah, look, you know what? I agree with you. It is classless behavior to tear a hole in your own city. It's crazy. It is crazy to celebrate in a way where essentially you're rioting. That said, though, can't you understand at least the frustration of the people that were called Bud tenders all this time? The Lakers are not disrespected the way Terrence Bud Crawford. The Cowboys, America's team, right? The Knicks, all these teams that have had great franchises and great runs, they had their enemies, right? They were the people in their divisions that were getting the shit kicked out of them. Like the Eagles and the Redskins, who pretended like the Cowboys had a rivalry. No, there was no rivalry. We were just beating the shit out of y'all. But these Terrence Crawford fans for years have had to endure the idea that they were crazy, that they were seeing something, that they were putting too much emphasis on this eye test, and that they were just like in love with the guy. I mean, like, you want to talk about all fighters get shit. You're right. I'm not going to debate that. Ness made that point on the show. Fine. You're right. Every single person, if you are, no. And see, that's the thing. No, not every person. If you get to a level of success in boxing. Then you start to get hate, right? Because all I know is every time Terrence Crawford or Verge or anybody in between 147 and 140 and 154 win a fight, it's, is he going to fight Boots though? Right? That, let Boots start to win. Let Boots start to get some real success. And let's start to hear if that's what we're saying anymore. It ain't going to be that, champ. It's going to be, oh, Boots don't do this. Boots never did that. When did Boots didn't fight this guy, that guy? He waited for him to get old. It's going to be the same shit. If that's the point you're making, which was the point that Ness was making, then yes, fine. Agreed, fully. But don't sit here and tell me that every single one of those guys gets attacked for their race, for where they're from, for just literally all the personal little shots that people had that detractors and haters that could not see the brilliance that was Terrence Crawford's fighting ability, right? For those people that couldn't see it, oh, well, we got to trash him in some other way because we know he's garbage. Of course we do. We said it. And so did my friend who thinks exactly like me. And so does the podcast I listen to that it literally repeats everything I say. Every single person in my echo chamber is saying the same thing. So it must be okay. Nope, it was wrong. You were all wrong. Collectively, you were all wrong. Terrence Crawford was that special. And so, you know what it feels like to me, Mex? Hold on, Mex said this. Listen, Cowboy fans would never tear up the city like that. No. I don't think. Well, we're America's team, champ. Of course not. Listen, I get that's a good point. I'm not saying that's not a good point, but it's not a fair point, right? Because we're America's team. We have a level of decorum that we have to protect above all else, and do we have our crazies? I'm not sitting here and saying we don't have our scumbag Cowboy fans. Every single franchise has their scumbag fans, right? But I think collectively Cowboy fans know that as the representative of America's team, we have to show a bit more dignity than that. And I think that we have over the years. If you look at our track record of winning and our track record of losing, we complain, we put the bags over our head. We wish, and this is probably not great behavior either, but we wish death upon elderly men that own franchises. And that's not right. I'm just saying that it is a thing where we have our frustrations and we have our celebrations. But yeah, we don't we don't tear into our own assholes to show the world how much better we are. Nothing is as bad as Texas Tech fans in Lubbock. Oh man, my aunt, my uncle, and my two cousins are Texas Tech alumni and current Texas Tech student. And when I tell you that this man since 2007 or 2008 has had his team named Wreckham Raiders every year, it's not an exaggeration. When I tell you that their favorite NFL teams are not based on where they're from, not based on what teams that were, great when they were growing up, like many of us who don't support home franchises, it is who was from Tech and who got drafted where. They are now die-hard Chiefs fans. And if you don't know why, it's because Patrick Mahomes went to Texas Tech. So they're like avid Chiefs fans now, which, listen, I didn't go to a college that had a football team. I went to a college that had a basketball team. The year that we snuck in the NCAA championship, I mean, it was awesome, right? It was awesome. I can only imagine what it's like to have a football team that you support that has longly been kind of a disgrace. And then like all of a sudden it's like, whoa, softball? That's crazy. Whoa, wait, what? Football? Basketball? No, not baseball. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, and basketball, they've always kind of been, pretty decent. Oh shit, I went way too far. Okay, would never tear. Okay, Meg said, listen, Bud deserves all the credit in the world, though. Let them people celebrate. See, that's respectable right there. I like that he said that. I like that he said that. What's up, champ? Ryan, what's up? I'm live. Do you want to come on? Okay, well then come on and tell me what you're going to tell me. Okay. All right, later. So anyway, let's see. Listen, but deserves it. Yeah. Okay. And see, here's the thing. I respect this. Somebody went on the Boxing Voice, right? They paid for a counterpunch. Okay. So this is a paid call. Somebody paid to call in. And the first thing they said was they'll take their crow for getting it wrong. I respect that. This is a guy in Supermax who picked Earl Spence all along. Now, I can say that I'm not going to sit here and say that Mex got it wrong, that he didn't see the technical side of both guys or nothing like that. I believe that his support of Texas and its fandom is ultimately what caused him to make his pick, and I don't blame him for that. I think that's the kind of loyal fandom you should expect from your um, constituents of fans. So let me see. Wait, who was taking shots at Bud for his race? Only Canelo was getting attacked for his race, at least over on TBV. Sure. And that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like, dude, there were people who obviously, like, if you're a fan of boxing who, for whatever reason, doesn't want to see a certain people of color like rise, then obviously you're going to have a problem, right? But I'm not even talking about them people. I'm talking about like black men who cover boxing and support other black boxers. That's their, I'm going to call it a niche, but it's their, that's their prerogative, right? I'm okay with that. There are channels that support Mexicans and Irish and so on, so on. No problem with that. The problem I have is that somehow, according to them, Bud was never black enough. Now, I'm not capable of having that conversation. I don't even choose to have an opinion on it. I mean, obviously I could like form an opinion just based on, my brain and stuff, but I don't feel the need to form an opinion on that. I question why. I question where those narratives came from. And yes, you're absolutely right. TBV didn't have a lot of those scumbags, and Ness has done a really good job of what's the word, curating his audience, curating his community, right? You have to curate them, and you have to make sure that you don't have a bunch of fucking groypers in your community, right? You are a scumbag cowboy fan. I never wish death on old man Mario. Bro, first of all, I didn't either. I didn't say I wanted it. I said I no longer want him to be in charge. I said the Steven era needs to begin already. And then you reminded me that that's probably not going to be that big of a difference. Let me see. All right. No, make no fucking mistake about it. Till the day I die, I will firmly and wholeheartedly believe that Crawford doesn't beat Spence without the car crash. And there it is. There it is, right there. See, that's an okay narrative. That's fine. You can believe that the crash took enough out of Spence that he was never going to win that fight, or he's always going to be against the 8 ball in that fight. But to the degree for which Crawford outclassed him, I mean, he made him look like a kid who was just learning to swim in the deep end at times. The face that Crawford had, I mean, the face that Spence had on that night, it was lost. It was utter confusion. And so while I absolutely can understand that part of that would be his body not responding based on the trauma that it's had physically from, multiple car crashes. Also, I think that one thing is often left out is the fact that a lot that, that time period in his life, it seemed like Spence was consuming a lot more. And that could also play be a detriment to not just your health, but your ability to recover. Right. Alcohol actually has a very, very, um, like it almost has the reverse effect upon like healing and stuff. Like it's like the opposite of what BCAAs do. So that plays a factor too, of course, but I just feel like it's a narrative that continues to grow, and everybody tries to put something on something when the truth is Earl Spence's boogeyman in the world of boxing Crawford's was Earl Spence and vice versa. Okay. And what he did to his in division nemesis combined with what he did to his pound for pound nemesis, I mean, it just doesn't get much better than that. I could probably go through, wait, how many, let me see, Pete Rose baseball record. Okay. I'm not being a dick when I say this. I'm not trying to be like overtly stupid, but I can go through the 4,256 record-breaking hits that that one Pete Rose had and held, right? And I can go and I could probably find a guy that was never better than like a double A, standout, right? I could find a couple of guys that were like September call ups, right? Maybe a couple of guys whose arms were a little banged up or they had the cold and they had lost some mileages off their fastball or their curveball wasn't dropping as much. There wasn't as much spin on the slider. I can show you some moments in his career where it was a cheap hit, Texas leaguer, or something that probably should have been called an error, but was called a hit, right? Because he's fucking Pete Rose, just like Tom Brady's Tom Brady. But it's the totality of what he was able to accomplish, right? That's the overall point, is that having that many hits at that level is amazing no matter what. So then when you look at the fact that he had a nemesis in Earl Spence, that was his in weight, in division nemesis, and he schooled him the way he did, and then did it to Canelo, and now it wasn't obviously that wide of a fight, but still was able to do something that was very wide from the perspective of how much separation was between size. Hold on, wait. Shout out to Cruz, by the way, the champ. Man, all I can say is I'm glad to be your friend. I'm sorry that you have such other shitty friends named Mario in your life. That are terrible, terrible humans who text terrible, terrible things at the most inappropriate times. But champ, I'm glad to be the mature and adult Mario friend, or friend named Mario in your life. Whoever that other guy was, fuck that guy, right? Let's delete him. Cruz said, "Yep, I was on a flight with Spence to Vegas, and he was already drunk before getting on the plane." Bro, I didn't mean to laugh. That's not funny, but I mean, but like it's like a well-timed, like comedically, the timing's kind of funny. But from the perspective of this is a story. Listen to me. This is a story of an athlete, of an uber athlete. Okay, this guy, most people thought his ceiling as a former Olympian, multi multiple belts, unified the division, all those things. And still Crawford was leagues ahead of him. Crash or no crash, right? If Spence was that guy, if Spence did have that ability, the fight still shouldn't have been that far, right? You look at like a Manny Pacquiao, and you know what the thing was that I wish I would have gotten back? See, this was the whole thing, real quick, and then we'll move on, I swear. This was the thing for me. See, my point that I was trying to make was when Crawford fought Earl Spence, people considered him like an A minus. That is the absolute truth. Now, I was held on this debate to saying that he's an A minus because I called him an A minus at that point. No, bullshit. But you can't also play Monday morning quarterback. You can't also come back and say, well, look at how he performed. The car crash must have affected him. No, it don't work that way. Because let me ask you this. What level do you give Manny Pacquiao when he was fighting in the featherweight division? What do you give him when he was rising up to welterweight ranks to become an 8 division world champion and break that record? What grade did you give him? The likelihood that you gave him an A or possibly A plus at any of those moments in his career, that sounds very logical to me. That sounds very, very logical to me. Do you think he's an A minus, even a B plus today? Who is the guy? What rank did you give Manny Pacquiao the night that he fought Mario Barrios? And then what rank do you think he actually is now that you've seen what he's done against Mario Barrios? You see, so it all counts. It all matters. Just because somebody's been beat before doesn't necessarily mean that he is more beatable or, whatever. It's styles are the thing that make the fights. Don't ever forget that. Okay. So him showing up that night and dominating, man, in that kind of a fashion, I'm sorry. It's just incredible. Absolutely agree with that take. And that's why I say Bud should retire or go get a belt at 160 and become only the third man in history to win titles in 6 divisions. Who's the other guy? Floyd and who? Is it De La Hoya? Who's the other guy? No, it's not De La Hoya. Oh, yeah. What the hell? Who the fuck is MC Khan? Bruh, nobody talking about that. Tripping. Anyway, that's that and see, and again, that's what I'm saying. Like, you understand this. You understand what it means to be an 8 division world champion in boxing. Now, Mex was around during that time, guys. He knows as well as I do that people were picking apart that weight, that 8 division world title record, picking it apart. Oh, it don't count, Margarito. Oh, it was one. I wasn't even 150. Man, he made Cotto come down. De La Hoya was barely alive when he stepped in the ring. All that's true. But you listen. Okay, let's put it this way, right? Do you think that Inoue would have like a shot against Bivol right now? If like no, right? Absolutely not. Okay, so let's start taking things away from Bivol. All right, let's say he has a broken right hand. Does Inoue win then? Probably not. Okay, now let's say that he had COVID and his breathing was affected all training. Does he still lose? Probably still not. Now let's say that he dropped the fucking bowling ball on his left toe and it's basically broken and he can't put any weight on it. Now is he going to lose to Inoue? You see, you keep going and going and going, and the fight gets theoretically closer, but does it really get that much closer when you're talking about the size difference, when you're talking about the abilities? You know what I mean? So it's like for Terrence Crawford to perform at this level, whether Canelo Alvarez aged in front of our eyes or we didn't realize how much he aged after his last fight. I mean, how could you with a guy who's barely fighting back? It's still, you know, that whole thing, it really doesn't matter, I don't think. He said, don't get on here and slander Pete. You just have to explain that better because you are right. Just take too long to explain. Yeah, champ. And that's the problem. See, that's the problem is this is a nuanced topic because while it can look like people that are a fandom crying about getting their favorite guy their, you know, his just due and his flowers, it's not just that. If it were just that, then sure, you know, stop being crybabies, you know, take your win, move on. But man, I just feel like it's a lot more unfair than that. I really do. Yeah, no, you're right. Minor titles was the main argument. Okay, so let's see, where are we? So first and foremost, let's go over some news stuff. Oh, I don't really want to report this. I don't, but I feel like, you know, it's kind of my thing to give y'all what's going on. So Jake Paul and Tank have moved the fight to Miami. Shout out to Supermax, by the way, or was it Matt? It was one of the, I think it was Supermax for dropping that. I was trying to get it on TBV, but you know, the callers, it was like one after the other. Just it was either screaming at Ness and everybody who's been talking shit about Crawford for years, or screaming at the people that were talking shit about the people that were screaming at Crawford and Ness for years. So, but yeah, shout out to you for that. Listen, I'm gonna say this, right? It makes sense to go to Miami. When you think of the landscape of boxing, specifically venues, the times have changed. From when me and someone like Mex first started, you know, doing podcasting and covering the sport of boxing, it meant something to fight in New York. It meant something to fight in Vegas. It meant something to fight in California. Not only did it mean something to fight in California, it meant something to fight at the Forum. And it meant something else to fight at the Blood Bowl or StubHub. It meant something else to fight at Staples Center or any of the other famous venues there, right? Today, things have changed. Things have changed Not a lot. I mean, Vegas still reigns supreme for the most part. If they didn't, they wouldn't have gotten the fight they got this weekend. They wouldn't have had three different promotions in three different genres of combat sports attempting to hold events there. Not even including UFC, which originally was going to have an event there and moved it off. But bare knuckle. There's a few other people. WWE took advantage with the AAA show the Friday before, which was an amazing show. I know that it's difficult on a show like this where it's wrestling, boxing, MMA constantly like flowing in between. I'm not trying to propagandize anything. I'm not trying to turn or convert anybody at all. I enjoy all three of them. I have a special place in my heart for each one of those. By the way, Kenny Florian rescheduled for September 30th, which is my birthday, by the way. So that's pretty cool. We'll have Kenny Florian, K-Flow, the legend, the Hall of Famer, one of the greatest submission artists that the UFC ever saw, specifically the lightweight division. And he'll be on September 30th. So we got a bunch of topics that are going to be really awesome. He's approved everything to talk about. Man, I'm not going to spoil anything. But man, we got some really good conversations ahead of us. Let's just say that. And by the way, no questions are again on a paywall, right? I am a journalist, so I don't necessarily need the help in terms of questioning, but I've done this long enough to know that I might not have the best question on the fly, right? You might have the best question on the fly, especially in my community with guys like Mex and Matt and, Abe and Woodsy and Andrew. I mean, these are all like high level either writers, reporters, journalists, or people that have covered the sport for a long time. So, you end up in all this kind of certain dynamics. And I say all that to say that everything has changed. And when you look at Florida and what it represents today as a combat sports destination, yes, this fight belongs in Florida. Okay. This fight didn't belong in New York. This fight did not belong in Vegas. This fight certainly did not belong in California. I was praying to God it wasn't coming to Texas, but I was very afraid. This fight belongs in Florida. It did, and it always did. Let me see. Oh, it was Matt that had said it. Shout out to Machine Gun Matt. Both of y'all, honestly, are just so good. If I could pay y'all to be on staff, I'm telling y'all right now, I would 1,000. Like, if I get to put money behind this venture, like, whenever that day comes, it goes back into the show and it goes back into all this other stuff. So shout out to y'all, man. Miami allowed Logan and Floyd, remember. Exactly. Great point. Thank you for adding that. And not only did they allow it, right, but it was a success, right? They were able to capitalize. And didn't Floyd fight Gotti both times? No, it was just one of the times, right? Florida has really become this like Wild West destination for combat sports. Like Tank and Jake probably won't reach the level of theatrics that we've seen from these kinds of fights, like with Floyd and Gotti and Floyd and Gotti again. Oh, what's his name? Dylan Dennis. Who did he fight? Was it Logan, right? Whatever. But the level of, circus BS that goes into a lot of these promotions. Yeah, that's the vibe that I think Tank and Jake are on. I had Andrew Ryan on last night or yesterday. Sorry. Shout out to everybody that was tapped into the live stream. Me and him had a great conversation, dude. We really did. It was solid. And that guy is such a really smart guy. I appreciate how he covers boxing. By the way, I could have talked to that guy about movies and boxing movies for like go back and check that out. Andrew Ryan on X, spelled RIHN Andrew. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to introduce somebody who has a better percentage right now than most NBA athletes do at the line. He's himself, the man who refuses to tell us who his inside source is in the WWE creative room. I give you Abe Gonzalez, ladies and gentlemen.
Yo, what up, everybody? You already know what it is.
Yo, congrats on basically calling everything in the second half so far of WWE. Jey Uso turning heel. I mean, there's just like a bunch of things I could go over, but while we have you here, I'm gonna stick on script, and I gotta say this, right? WrestlePalooza is coming, and we're doing the recap, right? So we'll get to some of your picks, but I want to ask you this narrative first. Did they rush this, Abe? From the narrative that I see, it feels like they got this deal done. ESPN said we're going to start 2026, Mania, all this, and then 2 weeks later, boom, we get this WrestlePalooza news. And then all of a sudden, John Cena's fighting Lesnar there and not at, Saturday Night Main Events. And now what's his final match? And what are they doing here? And it feels like ESPN said, hey, we want a big show to launch this app. You need to give us one. And WWE said, we'll oblige. Is it a mistake? Was it a mistake? Did they rush it? What do you think?
So this is the thing, man. The deal was supposed to start in 2026, right? I don't think that the ESPN app was getting that type of traction that they was looking for, across the board, whether social media, whether sponsorship or whatever the case may be. They were like, people outside looking, they were like, oh, okay, that's cool. We'll see you next year, type of thing, right? So they probably sat back and said, oh, let me see, we're spending all this money. Hey, WWE, is there a way where we can start this deal earlier? And of course, TKO was like, okay, well, finagle some things, and boom, we're starting WrestlePalooza, which, if I'm not mistaken, that takes after ECW did that at one point long ago. So they put this together, and yeah, it's John Cena, it's Brock Lesnar, it's all these things, because you have to, if you're going to introduce a new product and you're paying that much money, you better believe that all the A-listers will be there. And that's exactly what they did. They pointed they put the A-listers on there, and look, it's whether it's rushed or not, it's gonna work. Period. ESPN is doing like round the clock advertising, commercials.
Yes.
They're gonna have them on different shows throughout the week. Like, they're really pushing for this because they know what the WWE brings to the table, and that they can really capitalize off of this. Oh, John Cena versus Brock Lesnar, and I have to sign up for this, and this, or for this app or whatever. I'm gonna do it, and then it is what it is.
Yeah, I definitely see that perspective. I do. And it has worked. It's worked with the launch of Netflix, Saturday Night Main Events. However, I'll take you back, and you have a very good memory. And so I'll take you back, and let's put ourselves back into those moments where we expected huge shows. We expected big moments. We expected a lot. And it just didn't deliver, and I'm not saying that the product hasn't been solid over the last few weeks. I definitely think it's been good, specifically with AJ Lee coming in, but I don't know how good it is for business to continue to set up these once in a generation historic WWE moments. It was back to cable with Fox. It was here's Netflix. It was back to USA for this, and all these different sorts of things. Now we're in a perspective where they rushed it, and Comcast has like 30,000 or 300,000. I don't even know what the number is, but it's a large number of people that aren't going to be able to access the product that ESPN said that they would be able to if they were paying for ESPN. So
DirecTV as well, because I can't.
Really?
DirecTV.
And see that, and okay, so from that perspective, where the logistics rush, like of course the media and the fandom on screen will likely go off like gangbusters, whether the show's good or not. But from that perspective, the logistics, do you think everything is still solid? Or are we still working out this deal to a degree, even though we're here and we're living in it now?
No, I think that not that it was rushed, but since it was bumped forward, or bumped ahead of time, I don't think that everybody was on the same page to move forward that quickly. And so, because of that, some of these guys, so like DirecTV, if you stream only DirecTV, then you get the ESPN stuff. But if you have satellite, you have to wait until the fall to get the ESPN access. And then obviously you're saying Comcast as well. Now, this could be, this could benefit ESPN as well, because for people that may not want to wait and really, really, really want to see WrestlePalooza, they might they might go and subscribe to ESPN, right? And
Oh, damn, that's nasty
it's
work
nasty
right
work. Yeah.
there. Oh, yikes. Wow. Here's the thing. Yeah, dude, I didn't even think of that at all. Like zero thought of that. But just you saying that, they could make it right? You could say like, okay, we're giving a month free for anybody affected by, I mean, I don't know how you determine who's affected by it or not, but yeah, it could end up being a benefit in that way where you get a jump in numbers and you're able to show investors in the quarter call. Yeah, dude. Wow. Did not think of that at all.
And this is the thing,
Go ahead.
it could, and they have those bundle options with the Disney Plus and Hulu and
Yes,
stuff like that.
yes.
And so people that may not have all three of those, they were like, oh, you know what? Let me just bundle it, since I'm not going to be able to get it, then I can get three for the price of one or whatever the case may be.
Exactly, man.
But
Oh,
but
dude.
but also keep in mind that's only in the US. Outside of the US, the show's on Netflix. So is it a real yeah, I mean, I guess it'll be a little bit of a spike for ESPN, but does it hurt the product? No, not
No,
really.
it doesn't affect the product, but the era of numbers. See, I think you know me well enough to know that I don't care about numbers at all. How long can AEW keep my retention time? That's what I want to know. How good of a card does TNA have prepared today? That's what I want to know, right? Unfortunately, people care about the numbers. They really care about the numbers. I mean, the kinds of clicks you get on 50-word articles just giving numbers are crazy. Dude, I had like 9 people texting me personally saying they deleted the chat we were in, and can I resend the fightsatw.com article on the 41 million global views. And it was that, like, I'm like, dude, you never even asked to reread my stories. Like, what the fuck, dude? Shit, man. And so I get all that, but in the era of numbers, can they can do they get like a pass? Do they get like a Fighting Mayweather type of pass on this one, or do they not put the numbers out at all? With the era that we're in, shouldn't, and especially after 41 million globally on their partners network under the same banner, company wise, can they afford a bad number?
I don't know if there's a such thing.
Really? Okay. Oh man, interesting. Elaborate.
Not when you're talking about WWE, because what's a bad number for WWE?
It's
A
a
bad
great number
number.
for everyone else.
Bingo. It's a great number for everybody else. So,
You got it, dude.
bro, it's a
You're so good at
win-win.
this, man.
It's a win-win for everybody, man. These guys are popping champagne and snorting coke all over the place, bro.
Yo, it's 80s, and it's the Florida 80s right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Celebrating good times over there for sure. Listen, I want to move on. Make sure that we're steady with the topics here, because I want to make sure that I get all of your picks. But before we get into the actual picks of this 5-match card, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
Yeah.
match card.
Yo, real quick, did you guys hit up the Jake Paul Tank going to Miami?
Yes, we just
Okay.
did. Yeah. I said I felt like that's exactly where the fight belongs. We have Florida, Miami, with everything
Influencer
combat
City.
sports. Exactly. Influence. Bro, I said the only place it's gonna be is Miami or the FaZe Banks house.
Think about where they had that influencer conference recently. It was in Miami.
Oh, good call. Good call. You're right. You're absolutely right. Shout out to my boy TJ too. Got to do a little thing with Kai Cenat. Or not Kai Cenat, I'm sorry, I Show Speed. So okay, before we get into the actual matches themselves, I want to ask you, what do you think about this era of WWE and the cards, the card being smaller, right? They're smaller cards, there's more, I guess, detailed put into them, right? Everything feels like a banger, sort of. It's a really, I think it's had a positive effect. What do you think? How do you enjoy at this stage of your wrestling fandom what's not even shorter shows in terms of time, but feel like more compact shows with the shorter match card?
I'm a little bit in the middle because this is the thing. It doesn't give other wrestlers that may not have that premier name to them an opportunity.
Yes.
And that's what sucks, right? Because if you are on the pay-per-view card, and depending on where in the card you are is what determines how much you get paid in some
Yes.
contracts, right? So not being able to have that opportunity kind of takes away money out of their pocket, because if they're not wrestling, they're not getting paid. So
Yes.
um it sucks, but it goes to what we were talking about before, where TKO is, for a lack of a better term, trimming the fat. And so we're going to see more of the same premier names on cards rather than a mixture of guys on the come up or guys that are there but not really there.
Well said. Well said. So I want to start off here with the mixed tag match: CM Punk, AJ Lee versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. I feel like this has been really well done, right? First of all, you capitalize on AJ Lee, bringing her in, and what you've done with her that I feel is different from Brock Lesnar, from even John Cena, from Nikki Bella, from basically everybody that you've brought in over the last year, is that there was depth there. There was a story ready to come into, right? That the thing that bothers me is that that's not the case. It wasn't like, oh, AJ Lee has this perfect scenario. Yeah, it was a little bit, framed out for her, but you could have done the same thing with Nikki. You could have done the same thing with Brock. However, I'm not going to focus on those. I'm going to focus on what they're doing right. And what they're doing right is giving us a detailed, multi-layered feud and program, right? Because it's not just this man and wife versus this other man and wife. It's the man and wife versus themselves, right? Can Punk allow AJ Lee to be as physical as she's going to need to be on Saturday? Can AJ Lee hold back her worst impulses with, her wrestling with her husband for the first time ever? Rollins and Becky, are they on the same page? Are they not on the same page? Are they going to need a marriage counsel after this? I love it. I love every aspect of this. My question for you is A, who gets over on Saturday? And B, are you planning on Saturday to watch the first of X amount of matches in a feud that goes X amount of months? Or is this going to be a match where it's done and they separate and, Lee goes off to do whatever she does, maybe a run with the IC title with Becky, whatever. But what do you expect to see on Saturday from a more storyline, storyboarded aspect?
I'm expecting a Smajalooza.
Yeah.
This is just the beginning of this story.
Mm.
I would even go to the extent of saying that I think that maybe this leads to a hell in the cell for all four.
Oh, shit. Oh, that would be sick. Oh, but can you run the Hell in the Cell back, though? You just did it with Drew almost like a year to the date.
No, but I'm talking about like Survivor Series.
Oh, like a war game style.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I like that. That's dope. I like that. My fear is that it's not. I think this should be the first of many. I think you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. I feel like Saturday should not end at all in any kind of clean finish. I'm going to say something. I don't know if this is controversial or not. Mex made a joke in a chat this past week, and it was a harmless joke, right? About the dangers of men and women fighting in the same match, right, and making physical contact. Now we know that there's always the payoff in these matches with the women getting over on the men, getting that physical shot, right? We saw it with Rhea and Dom. Okay, my wonder is, do you book it in this way where we know both men aren't going to hit a woman? They've already declared it. We know that. Okay, but you set it up where Seth accidentally makes contact. That to me raises the level of their match to a point that it's worth continuing, right? Is it like we always ask in boxing and MMA, Is it worth the rematch? Is it worth the trilogy, right? Spence and Crawford fought. We don't need to see it again. Canelo and Crawford just fought. I don't really need to see it again. So do we need to see this again after Saturday? That's the question. And so it should end, I believe, in one of those kinds of ways. Do we get a clean finish? Do you think who gets over? Who's standing tall at the end?
Nah, I
Oh,
think
you said Small City, right?
it's
Yeah,
a
my bad.
smart city, but
Small
this is
City.
the thing. If they're not going to do that, and this is a one-off, not saying a one-off for AJ Lee, a one-off for the story, then I feel like somebody's going to be introduced to mess with AJ Lee and cost her the match.
Mm.
So now you have to kind of circle back and see who did she have a really good rivalry with back in the day. Now, not that she did, but I'm thinking in my head, what if this is where we get Nikki Bella to interject and she helps Becky because they're cut from the same cloth? And then you get Nikki Bella versus AJ Lee moving forward.
I like that. I like that. I do. I think that it works in a couple of ways, right? One, it brings AJ Lee back in a way that's familiar. And it also gives Nikki, I think, the send off she deserves. I don't think this has been the greatest run for her. And it being the first match and not a build up to a, bigger match, it takes the pressure off, right? I'll be honest, and I hope my niece isn't watching, but Nikki Bella didn't really perform super well that last time out. Now, I'll be honest, I don't think that she was put in a really great position to perform well, but I like it. I do. I think that works in a lot of different ways. Is it the main event, or do you think they go Cody Drew? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and you do Nikki versus AJ Lee in San Diego for Survivor Series.
Bro, perfect. And here's the other part, dude. I had not been thinking of this at all, and now you said it, and it's like, remember the other night when he was teasing the AJ Lee appearance, right? The night she debuted, he mentioned Bailey, he mentioned Rhea, like you know what I mean? So like you can have that recruit angle there. You know what I'm saying? I definitely think it works. So do you think it's the main event, or are they gonna go Cody Drew?
Cody Drew. You
Cody
gotta
Drew.
listen, you have to go with Cody because he is the face of the company.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, you
true.
you
You're
have to
right.
go Cody at the if you're not gonna go Cody at the end, you're gonna go Cody up front first.
Oh, I like that. Yes, absolutely.
You go Cody first, and then you put John Cena at the end.
I definitely see that. Yes. Okay. So I want to, before we even get to the Cody stuff, though, this is to me not the issue with the card, but okay. So you have a lot of different things that offer a lot of different looks, right? You got the Cena Lesnar thing, you got the mixed tag match, and of course the Cody Rhodes Championship. The Usos, Bronson Reed, and Braun Breaker to me is the most interesting match, and I'll tell you why. I don't know what they're doing. I cannot tell if this is a situation where they brought the Usos back just to split them, which doesn't seem like logistically what they're doing, or is it a situation where they're just trying to make them both realistic heels together, right? Find a way to break the Yeet Jimmy Uso combination that feels like no chemistry at all and bring them together in a common purpose, right? Um, is Jey Uso a heel, Abe? What do you think of this booking and book the match for us? Is he a heel? Did he
Yeah.
turn heel?
He hasn't turned completely heel yet. I think that what's up with the phone call? Like who was he
Yes.
talking to, right? Like,
Thank you for saying that. Yes,
you
I
know,
almost forgot to even put that on the thing.
is that, I don't know.
I
What
thought it was
happened?
Jacob. I thought it was gonna be Jacob. I really did.
It could be Jacob, it could be
Roman
Solo, it could
Solo.
be
Oh my
Roman,
god, what if it's Solo?
it could
Holy
be
shit, you're right.
it
It
could
could have
be
been Solo.
it could be Zilla. I don't know if they're ready to pull that. You know what I mean?
Bro, why you always come on?
I mean, look,
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take the clip.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it could be, Zilla dropped the title to Danny Limelight. Shout out to Danny, reality of wrestling. So I don't know. I mean, he has been like wrestling these legends, and I think that a
Yes.
lot of that was to see if he's ready, right? So who knows? Like it could be one of those things, but I think slowly they'll turn him and Jimmy will rock with it for a little bit, but then eventually maybe we get the Jay versus Jimmy, but you know, enhanced a little bit. You know what I mean? At Mania or something like that.
Got you. Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. Let me ask you this question though. Do you expect the Vision to have like sort of a reestablished program after all this smoke, after all the dust is cleared off of these programs, or do you get the feeling that they're drifting towards a full split? I mean, they're still very much protecting the fact that they care about Heyman being in the hospital and are mad that he got put over. So there's still that connection, but it just feels like they're on two different shows right now and they're on the same program. Like they don't intermix at all. And I get it. AJ Lee, all that stuff, completely different. The Brawns don't need to be involved. But what's your take on the Vision right now? Is this good for them? Is it bad for them?
The Vision will be okay for a little bit. And then eventually I think Heyman gets behind Braun Breaker.
Oh, I like that.
And Braun Breaker becomes the next Brock Lesnar.
I like that. I do. I think I see it too, right? I think I could see it and envision it.
Envision
As a
the
healer face. Is it, you think, obviously heel, right? But is there a chance
yes.
that they can make a face run work like that or no?
Nah, nah,
No?
nah.
No.
Braun is getting too much of that good heat as a heel.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
he is. You're absolutely right.
you know, and they're loving it. He's getting the type of reaction that Stone Cold got in initially, not like to that level, but I'm talking about him being like a heel, but people still loving what he does.
Yeah. I see that too. LA Knight feels like the weird guy in the mix for this storyline. Do you expect for him to, I mean, he's got to be out there, right, on Saturday?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird with LA Knight,
It
isn't it?
is so weird.
Because it's almost like they're teasing a heel, but then if they turn Jay, then he's gonna be a face, you know, even more of a
I
face.
know,
So
dude. This is why I'm saying that while I understand that Cena Lesnar is the appeal for the night, while I believe that AJ Lee and CM Punk are in the most brilliant storyline of the night, while I think Cody and Drew probably have the most on the line for a single match on the night, to me, it's this tag match that has so many questions as far as what is the booking of Jay? What is the booking of Jimmy? What are the bookings of them together? Where are the Reeds? I mean, Bronson's heading, Bronson Reed and Bronson Breaker. You know, where is the direction? I feel like it will be a failure if we don't have some clarity on Saturday. I'm not saying that we need the full story spread out for us, but I need to know who's on whose side at this point by the end of Saturday, right? If you
I
don't
think
want
the
to
next
tell us who's on the call, fine, but
I think the next chapter, the title of the next chapter has to be established on Saturday for us to know
Mhm.
what it is moving forward.
Well said. That is a definitely a clip right there for sure. Okay, so we talked about that. I want to make sure I get to Andrade, so I'll just, I mean, we could not burn through, but
But Cody,
John's. Oh yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah. I was gonna go to John Cena, Brock Lesnar, but you
Yes,
know what?
go.
I want to save that one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So look, I feel like this was the match that's been most affected by the ESPN stuff, right? I feel like they needed something big, and this was the biggest thing they had on the horizon. So they said, okay, we'll put it here. I don't always think that's the best way to book. I don't always think booking to the event, right? If it's not WrestleMania, it doesn't work in that way. You need storyline, you need stakes, you need reason for people to get behind this, right? So without Brock Lesnar giving us any sort of real motivation for what he's done or why he's come back, other than the beyond kayfabe stuff that we know, right? This really comes down to being a historical battle. The story they're telling is a one of history, right? And it's the totality of their fight and their feud. Abe, is that about the worst thing you could do in in a 2025 era of wrestling where Brock Lesnar is under the heat that he is? Should they have gotten so far away from the non-kayfabe stuff that they built another storyline completely? Otherwise, isn't on Saturday this really just an actual bad guy versus an actual good guy and not a heel face situation? Am I off on this one? Tell me what's going on.
I think this is a business move. Let's think about this for a second. What does Brock Lesnar associate with
Money.
outside of that?
Tell
The
me.
UFC.
UFC, yeah, absolutely, sure.
UFC, right? Who was on ESPN up to 6 months ago?
UFC.
The UFC. So if you are doing a program on ESPN and
Brilliant.
you're trying to bring in new eyeballs outside of the wrestling fandom, you bring in a guy that people are familiar with on ESPN and you showcase him against the biggest name in the business, which is John Cena. You're blending two worlds, the mixed martial arts combat world with the wrestling Hollywood world. You're maximizing on the eyeball potential. And that's why that match is on ESPN.
Bro, that is so good. You are absolutely right. And this is why I love having you on for these kinds of conversations, because you're capable of putting it all together for us. Yes, I agree. Much like the reason why I felt John Anik was chosen for this weekend's work is he provided a familiar face for the crossover fans, right? For the hybrid fans, for those that don't always watch boxing, but still watch combat sports in the form of UFC. That name rings true. It rings familiar in the same way that Larry Merchant or Jim Lampley would have been for, our generation. I get that. I definitely do. Do you expect Brock Lesnar to be maybe not on the Monday after, but still around the company after Saturday? Or is this a situation where he came in to do the job and he's leaving?
I think he came in to do the job, and then we'll see him at Rumble or WrestleMania Saudi Arabia.
Got you. That sounds exactly like what's going to happen. So I want to move on to the Io Sky Stephanie Vaquer before we get into the undisputed world championship between Rhodes and McIntyre. Now, the Sky Vaquer match, I expect to steal the show. I expect by the end of WrestlePalooza, most fans objectively will be saying that was the match I remember the most. I do like how they've presented it, almost like a combat sports, right? Where they had their contract signing, which isn't new to anything, but the fact that the belt has been vacated, the story is the championship. And when you can make the story the championship, you are succeeding on all ends, right? You are elevating everyone. So if they can have a great match and there not be a champion defending or a champion losing, and specifically two women going after an uncrowned title, that to me is the best recipe of elevating both. Now, that said, I will say this: they are very, very, very much trying to get Stephanie over. And as over as she is in the ring, shout out to Machine Gun Matt, who sent us the clip. What they did on NXT between Stephanie and Rhea Ripley, where they both did the Stephanie move. That was for the clips. That was for the clicks. That was for the exposure. You had Rhea Ripley, one the most Googled and viewed social media presence on WWE, basically giving the rub, so to speak, to Stephanie in that moment. So, Abe, I ask you, with Io Sky going for her second title reign, Stephanie Vaquer going for her, I guess it would be fourth world championship and a fourth. No, she didn't win the AW. So third major world title in a company, the pinnacle of the sport. Who gets over on Saturday night?
I'm not even going to hesitate. Stephanie.
Stephanie is the new champion after Saturday.
New champ. This is why, look, and I mentioned this to you, everything is about perception. Who was standing next to Triple H when he announced WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia?
Turkey?
No, on the other side, on his left side. Who was standing right next to him?
Who
It
was
was
it?
Turkey and Stephanie.
What, for real?
I sent you the pic on the text.
I remember it. I don't remember her being
Yes,
directly on his other side.
directly on his other side.
Holy
It's
shit. I'm going to look
it's
that up
on
now.
there. So I say that to say this. Triple H from the start was super high on Stephanie. Super high from the
Rightfully so.
start. And so this is it. The move to make is to put the title on Stephanie. And here's the other reason why. Guess what? You can feature her on the next major triple A event. You can do that.
Holy shit. You're right. You're absolutely right. And that's exactly what they're going to do. Dude, you're right. With this Penta thing that they did at the beginning of AAA. Oh man, you're 100% right, I think.
Stephanie will be one of those that they'll use. If the AAA does like a big event in Mexico, she will be there. She will be there and she will represent as the world champ. And that's just what it is, bro. Stephanie Vacchia is going to be the champ, and she'll hold on to it all the way up to the point where Naomi comes back, and then they'll figure it out from there.
Yo. Uh-oh.
Did you send it?
Yeah, it froze. You froze for a second. Repeat that last part.
Oh no, I said she'll be the champ until Naomi comes back.
Oh, and and here's the other part of that though. And this is another question. Rhea is clearly the next feud, right? And that's unfortunate because I agree. I think Stephanie gets over, which means likely Sky gets to the back seat, has to get to the back. And I think that Rhea feud is going to be big. I think they're really going to push. So I expect Stephanie to, yes, win, and then, yes, also get a giant rocket on her back for the remainder of this year. And yeah, all the business points to that.
And this is the thing. If they do the Rhea match, they'll schmaz it, right? And they'll have somebody interfere with Rhea, and then Rhea can go off and do the rivalry with that person and take the story in a different direction. The whole thing is that Rhea doesn't need the belt, and we said this from the beginning. She don't need the belt to be the top person. She's doing that already. So there's no necessity to get her the belt.
Yeah, I agree. You're absolutely right. So moving on to the undisputed WWE Championship match, Cody Rhodes defending his title against Drew McIntyre. Listen, I absolutely believe Drew deserves this match. Drew's been one of the most consistent, best performers on the mic, in the ring, everywhere. That said, man, I don't know, Abe. You tell me if I'm wrong, but this one feels like a little flat. I felt like they had some really good momentum, but the schedule of Cody and the inability to build more than just Drew going out there and cutting a crazy promo, which he's really good at, but it's like you can only do that so much. You're not going to raise the stakes anymore in a single promo unless you have something very specific planned. Abe, how do you feel about this fight? Is it a little stale to you? And what's the booking look like for Saturday with Cody, the face of the company, as you put it, having to compete with so many different top storylines on Saturday night?
Yeah, this was just injected because you need Cody on the program. It's as simple as that.
Wow.
You need Cody in the program, so this was injected. I told you from the start, Drew McIntyre isn't a top guy. He's a great second guy, but he's not a top guy, period. And so Cody will win. And Drew will be in some other storyline. But this thing doesn't feel like the beginning of something. I feel like Cody will have a bigger story after this. I don't know what that may be, but he's just coming back from the Street Fighter stuff. You know what I mean? So he's got to get his feet wet, and this is what that is, and then it's going to go to another story.
Yeah, I think you are right. I think you are definitely on the beat. Listen, that has been the preview for for WrestlePalooza this Saturday night, which I will be covering for fightsaroundtheworld.com. That's fightsatw.com. You can check my article out there, and you can also check out my Raw recap from this Monday, as well as my article covering AAA's Worlds Collide from last week. As I said at the beginning of this program, there's no desire to turn any of you into fans of anything. Yes, I love wrestling. Yes, I love boxing. Yes, I love MMA. If you love only one of those things, it doesn't matter. You don't have to love any of those other things. But when I tell you that AAA has been one of the most consistently fun watches of any combat sports programming, I mean it. Give it a shot. Just give it a try. See what you think. You can go check out my article and see what parts you think you might, like more than others, and fast forward to that. But it is still on YouTube, and my article is still on fightsatw.com. And make sure you also go to fightsatw.com, bookmark it for all your combat sports news. Plenty of boxing and combat sports stuff other than wrestling, but definitely always have you up to date. Abe, before we let you go, I want to ask you about Andrade. The story came out. He was released. The details are still kind of murky. From what I'm hearing, it was a live show that this thing occurred, whatever he did or didn't do or whatever, whatever set WWE off the wrong way, whatever put him in the doghouse that led to this moment occurred on this WWE live event. It was so egregious, apparently, that the firing was on its way. There was no moment where this guy was going to not be fired. Apparently. Now, this is all stuff I'm hearing secondhand. I have no actual sources in this. I did try, actually, but nothing. I got to get back on my Spanish, man. So I want to ask you, Abe, this is the third story like this in his career, where his lack of booking or I guess his feeling of insufficient booking or being used insufficiently, that's the narrative. We don't know if that's true. We don't even know if that was true with AEW or WWE the first time around. All we know is that continues to be the narrative. Abe, what did you think when you heard the news? And is Andrade cooked? Is he heading to Alberto Del Rio territory? What's going on here?
Yeah, I think he is, man. It's weird because when you start seeing the same pattern in different promotions, you start to wonder if it's the person, right? It's not the company, it's the person. And I think that this is the case with him where, he may feel like he should be at a certain level. And if they're not obliging to that, then he'll do something that gets him kicked out. Now, they might have tolerated that before when he was with Charlotte,
Ooh,
right?
well said.
So, but now that he's not with Charlotte no more, they're like, all right, bro, peace. And and kind of get rid of him. But this could also be part of the trimming of the fat, like I mentioned to you on TKO, slimming the roster down, and people that aren't pushing the needle, getting the axe and or the pink slip. So you're probably gonna see more of that. You know what I mean? And so people need to be on their best behavior, I guess, because one little slip up and you can find yourself unemployed.
Man, great point. Honestly, that's a topic I'd love to read more about because, man, you said so much right there. I mean, I could do another 30 minutes on this topic just alone with your answer. Yeah, it's a different time, right? Like I don't want to put Lex Luger in this. Ultimate Warrior, Hogan, Nash, style of doing business, right? In the old days when that could fly. Now it is an era of TKO, WWE, even UFC where yes, they want stars that attract, but they don't want stars that get so big that their chips on their side of the table outweigh the chips on the other side. That's how Hogan, I mean, listen, WCW was successful based on that, based on the idea that WWE wanted to be the only place. And then when they weren't, look what happened. So, yeah, real quick, one last thing, and I promise this is it. And I just wanted to get your thoughts. It's not a huge story, but Ricochet came out and made a comment. I don't know if you saw it, but he was on. He was being interviewed. I think it was no, it was sports.
Earl Hawani.
It was Errol Hawani. That's who it was, and he said, along the line.
Oh, I lost you there. Lost you. Oh. Well, as Mario gets his stuff back here, I don't know if we're still online or not, but yeah, we're still live, it looks like. Anyway, as Mario comes back in here, Ricochet situation as well. He was on Ariel Hawani. I also look at. I was thinking about this the other day about the whole TNA, WWE stuff with NXT. Some of their guys are complaining about, on X, where they were complaining about whether the opportunities, they were getting less of, and the mix up of TNA stuff and all that. It just didn't seem like it was real, more like storyline than anything else. Here comes Mario back.
I don't know what happened. My internet, it didn't even go out. Everything just like reset. My other computers too. Even my TV turned on like crazy. I don't know what that was.
Ricochet.
Thank you. So Ricochet came out and he made a very, very specific comment about WWE's pricing. And basically the comment he made felt like a shot. And he said, hey, if you want to take your family to a wrestling event and you can't afford the prices that WWE has, come on down to AEW. We got you covered. The price is definitely worth admission. That felt like a shot for me. What did you think of that? And fair play or not?
It is fair play in regards to him comparing wrestling shows and economics, right? Like, if something is too expensive, and there's another option that is a little less expensive, why not give them a try? Like, that's with anything, right?
Yes.
If you can't afford to go to a Major League Baseball game, but you have a AAA team near your city, you can go and try them out, and you'll still get the satisfaction of the baseball game. It just may not be the same level of players on the in the game, right? And so that's kind of like the comparison, right? And so I think it was fair play. He has a point. It's crazy. Like, for WrestlePalooza, ringside, I think they said, is like $3,000 a piece.
Oh my gosh.
$3,000 a piece. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yo, Chris Van Fleet was telling a story last week on his podcast. He spent $130 on ringside tickets to WrestleMania 18. He was in the 8th row for $130.
You know who was sitting right behind me at the private screening of the Smashing Machine?
Who's that?
Chris Van
Chris
Fleet.
Van Fleet. Was he really? Oh, that's sick. That's awesome. You should get him on the podcast. Y'all would, man. I would love to see y'all chop it up.
Yeah, he was right behind me while we was watching the movie, which didn't really rock my boat like that.
Oh man, that hurts so bad. I wanted it to be so good. I mean, I'm not going to give up on it. I'm not. But yeah, What about The Rock? How was the performance of The Rock?
Listen, The Rock and oh girl, I can't remember her name.
Emily. No, not Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt. Yeah,
bro, they killed that. They killed the role.
Okay,
both of them.
Good.
Right. The story itself, just, it was really choppy for me.
Oh no.
And see, the thing with me is that I went into it like I don't know who Mark Kerr was, right? And so I'm going into it just as someone watching a movie because I have no idea who this guy is.
Yeah, and that's who the movie's for you, for someone who, yeah.
And I feel like there was too much like assumption that you needed to know certain things within it. So I felt a little lost.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So
That's
I
crazy.
I I wrote something up, should be posting like in the next day or so, talking about that. But The Rock killed it, Emily Blunt killed it, even Usyk. Usyk is in it. He did his thing.
Usyk killed it too?
Yeah, he did his thing,
Oh,
as far as
man.
like
Yeah,
his
yeah, minor role.
role, but he did his thing, you know what I mean? So
Okay. Okay, so then yes or no, and we won't hold you to prediction. Is The Rock nominated for any award? Doesn't have to be an
yes,
Oscar, maybe Golden. Yes, absolutely.
yes,
Oh, awesome.
absolutely.
Oh man, I can't wait, dude. That
Now
kind of coverage is gonna be so fun to do.
now I think that Emily Blunt isn't being given the credit that she deserves, mainly because the big ass shadow that The Rock is casting, right?
Mm.
But I think that she might be a sleeper and she might sneak in there and get a nomination somewhere, maybe Golden Globes or something like that. But she
Yeah.
definitely deserves it and she killed
Oh
it.
yeah. Champ. That's what's up, man. Cannot wait. Make sure you go and bookmark fightsatw.com and get ready for Abe's piece so that you can get ready for the film. Definitely cannot wait to see The Rock's performance in that. Abe, man, thank you for tapping in with us. Appreciate all the valuable info you give us all the time. Let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, man. At AbeG718 on X, Instagram, TikTok, at AbeG Boxing on YouTube, and fightatw.com is the website, man. I appreciate y'all.
Hell yeah, champ. Appreciate you. You have a good rest of your day, champ. Hey man, and here's the thing, right? I love it. I'm glad that he said that at least The Rock's performance was solid because, and we've talked about this on the live. This next era of The Rock's career is very important, right? He, I think, thought that at this point in 2025, he'd be shooting like Black Adam 2 or Superman versus Black Adam 1 or something, right? Like he figured his next decade was going to be tied up with the DC universe. It wasn't. It wasn't going to be anymore. And so he needed something else and he needed something new. And that was around the time where The Rock, became uh, a board member for TKO and received such a high level place amongst that business group, or I mean, I'm sorry, amongst that company. And I figured we were going to be getting The Rock, coming back to wrestling, not in a full time, way or anything, but certainly as a piece of storyline, right? Like maybe somebody's always like, maybe Rock has his like faction that's always wrestling, right? It's like Cody turned heel and represents him now. Like that's what I figured would end up happening. But no, he's going after a serious acting career and he needs this movie to work, at least for him and Emily and their chemistry on screen, because that's going to dictate the buzz for his film coming up with Martin Scorsese that revolves around basically the like Hawaiian mafia, like how the Hawaiian mafia basically started. Like there is a Al Capone for the Hawaiian mob, and that's who The Rock's going to play. But I'll say this, if The Rock or Emily Blunt doesn't end up with an award, dude, the fucking makeup person better have won an award. What's up? What up? Who? Oh, okay. Did you? Oh, they did. They came in. Oh, that's what's up. Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm down. If what time? I'm live right now, so I was probably gonna jump off here in just a bit or like another hour or so. But yeah, we can go whenever. 7. Okay. Sun's down. Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, that works perfect. Okay, sounds good. I'll hit you up. All right, later. All right. My cousin just picked up golf. I've been wanting to get back into golf for so long. And he never played. He literally went to the driving range once and it was like, boom, that's it. Caught the bug. That's how it happens with golf. Like for people that never give golf a chance and then they finally are like, you know what, fuck it. Or one friend drags them there. Or they just end up hitting some balls at Top Golf. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. and you're done. You can't help but want that feel the striking the ball like just fucking perfectly every single time. But anyway, yeah, I was gonna say the person that deserves to, man, what is going on with my internet? The person that's gonna deserve an award for sure is gonna be the makeup artist. Uh I'm trying to find it good. Oh, here we go. Hopefully it works though. Hey, shout out Wavy, shout out Zorro. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Nope, that's not it. Okay, here it is. So this is Mark Kerr and The Rock. Is it even coming out? Yeah, it's close enough. So this is The Rock and pictured next to Mark Kerr right here with the medal. And then this is The Rock as Mark Kerr. And yeah, bro, you don't tell me that girl does not deserve an Oscar or man, who knows? Nobody, I don't know. Because The Rock looks crazy, phenomenal. Yeah, terrific work there, honestly. Listen, we got about another, let's say 30 minutes left on YouTube before we switch on over to only Twitch, only X, and only IG and TikTok. And the reason we're going to do that is because I am going to take y'all back. I am going to take y'all back to the year 2003. And it is going to be January. And it is going to be, wait, let me see this. Hold on, wait. Okay, I'm going to take us back to the year 2003. The date is going to be January. Oh, God. Okay, so the day is going to be January 19th. The year is going to be 2003. And the destination is going to be Boston, Massachusetts Fleet Center. And if anybody in the next 60 seconds can accurately tell me what event I'm talking about in what genre of sport, they get automatically entered into every single PlayStation giveaway we do for the rest of the year, starting next month. So 3 admittances, 3 chances to win. If you can tell me what event that is, and you have another 90 seconds. So we're going to be talking about this event, January 19th, 2003. No, you can't DM me. I guess you could DM me. Fine. I guess whatever. Sure. Whatever. I figure but why don't you just put it if you know it right now, because you don't know it. So anyway, we're going to be going back to January 19th, 2003 at the Fleet Center in Boston, Massachusetts, where a Mr. Kurt Angle defended his title against a one Chris Benoit. This was one of the best matches in the history of WWE, the history of wrestling, the history of the Ruthless Aggression era. Just an amazing match. And I want to take y'all to the event itself. I don't know who this is, so I'm not going to answer. And I want to talk to you, and I want to show some of the stuff that was going on here with the event. We're going to take a little look at the match as well. So, yeah, in the next 30 minutes, we'll stay here. And if you are on YouTube, if you want to join that conversation, head on over to X, IG, Twitch, or TikTok. And it's INFX on every single one of those destinations. Yo, shout out Billy. Appreciate you jumping on, champ. Okay, so what's the matter? You go outside? You go outside? So let me see. Where were we at today in the Boxing News 24 wrote a story. Dan Ambrose wrote a story, I should say, titled "A High Cost: The Humiliation That Will Define Canelo's Next Two Fights." So, he wrote, Turkey Al-Sheikh, this was from yesterday, by the way. Turkey Al-Sheikh revealed today that he met with superstar Canelo Alvarez, confirming with him that he still has 2 fights left on his contract with Ryder season. He offered Canelo to work with him until he retires. The fallout from a humiliating loss. The 2 remaining fights that Alvarez, 63, 3-2, 39 knockouts, has on his contract with Ryder season are expected to occur May and September of 2026. No opponents have been mentioned. Ideally, what Canelo, 35, needs are fights who are aggressive, come forward, and don't move around the ring. In Canelo's 12-round unanimous decision loss to Terrence Crawford last Saturday night at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, he struggled to cut off the ring on him. Crawford would land and then take off. It was the same style that William Skull used against Canelo on May 3rd, but with slightly more offense and less power. If Canelo wins his next 2 fights in 2026, it's possible he might choose to continue his career on into 2027. It'll depend on a lot of things. He's got to be matched against the right type of fighters for him to win the next year. It would be the same with an aging Crawford. If Turkey pushed Crawford hard to fight David Benavidez or Dimitri Bivol, he's likely to lose both. He'd be the one who would be unhappy, but wealthier. Crawford already ruled out a fight against Benavidez today. The dignity stripped away. In Canelo's case, he chose not to say no to Turkey, even though it was a bad style for him fighting the mover Crawford. Not only that, it put Alvarez in a position where he would be humiliated if he lost, and that's what happened. He still chose to take the fight with Crawford, but it became at a high cost. His dignity stripped away. Yo, Dan went in. That is crazy. I don't know if that's how I would put it. I get what he's saying. I do. And first of all, I mean, it's ridiculous to have this Crawford fight Benavidez conversation, let alone Crawford Bivol. That is so unfair to try to make it seem like those are manageable fights. I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible to be good enough at boxing or any talent or anything that requires talent. I don't think you can be good enough at boxing to overcome that discrepancy in size combined with that level of ability, right? Like Tank could beat Jake Paul. That's definitely a possibility. He has the skill set. And what Saturday should have taught us, if anything, is that this is a science. It's a sweet science. And that means that there are ways of accomplishing what Tank is going to want to accomplish against Jake. But if you took Jake out and you put in Bivol, I mean, there'd be no chance. There'd be no shot. And again, it's the size combined with the skill set, right? I think that Tank has a better shot at beating heavyweight Jake Paul than he would at having to beat like a 154 Virgil Ortiz or Lubin or something like that. Like he'd have a better shot at beating Jake Paul based on the discrepancy in ability. So yes, size matters. Of course it does, but it only matters after the context of ability, right? I always use this metaphor. For those that know Ness and TBV, and know that I used to work for them, there was a time where before Border Wars became a thing, Ness was at Sean Porter's gym for a fight camp, and they were working, or I'm sorry, Porter was working and getting his work in, and of course Ness was working, videoing and doing the interviews and stuff. And they set up a sparring session between Sean Porter, who is, let me see, 5'7". Sean Porter is 5'7". I'm almost positive that Ness is either 6'6" or 6'7". So he has a full foot over Sean Porter, let alone the reach. The reach was like even crazier. And Sean Porter put a whooping on him. Sean Porter put a good whooping on Ness. Listen, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. Sean Porter is an incredible fighter and probably one of the most underrated fighters of this era. And Ness at that time hadn't had any, if very little, training. But it goes to show you that the level of skill separation was enough to overcome the size discrepancy between the two. So, that's kind of how it works. But right now, we got the one and only Machine Gun Matt in the freaking building. Lost a ton of weight, and it looks like it all went to the biceps. Is that what happened, champ? Were you on a diet exercise program that got it all to the biceps? Because you looking a little yoked up over there, champ.
First, you got me. Do I sound all right? Do I sound good?
You sound great, man. You sound great.
Fantastic. Now, I just had to pick up a good diet with my wife, the back end of my wife's pregnancy. So we had to control a lot of what we were eating and what she was eating. Had to watch calories, carbs, sugars, sodium.
Hey, you're a good man for that. You're a good man for that, for going through that with her. You know what I'm saying? And making her feel like she has a partner in that, right?
Hey, we're all rolling the same way, baby. We got to keep it up.
Hell yeah. Champ. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Listen, I'm glad you came through because this is a big hybrid cross conversation stuff going on over here today. First and foremost, I want to get your take on the overall conversation that's going on with Crawford and Canelo right now. Do you feel like Crawford is not getting the credit he deserves, or are you feeling like fans of his are asking for too much credit, if there's such a thing, after beating Canelo?
In terms of what? Like,
so in terms of
credit for the win or credit for his whole career?
Both. It feels like they're trying to tie in both, it looks like.
Right. I mean, first of all, he has to get major credit for that win. That's an all-time great win. I mean, how could you not? That's one of the best wins this generation has ever seen in terms of the feat that was accomplished by him going up that many weight classes and beating Canelo in a great performance, an all-time performance. And to me, I feel like it validates his career in terms of what people saw, because the conversation that was with Bud, a lot of it, his resume was in question, but a lot of the talk was, look at the eye test, look at the tape, look what he's doing.
Very fair.
And a lot of the time, people didn't like to go with that, but it's hard to say no, So I don't think it's I don't see that much of like where's the validation for Bud in terms of his career and the win. I think it's more people want him to enjoy, like people want us to have the victory lap for Bud, and like they want us to have the parade and wave with him, but they don't understand. Like that's what happens when you become the guy in the stands. He's not the money man, but he's the guy to beat. He's the guy you want to see in the fights. The same thing that it's when I say, I mean look at Mayweather. He beat Manny Pacquiao, an hour later at the press conference. They were asking if he was gonna fight him again. Miguel Cotto beat Sergio Martinez. Hey, are you gonna fight Triple G? Canelo beats Cotto. Hey, are you gonna fight Triple G? And then look at all these years later. If Canelo would have won Saturday, are you gonna fight David? It happens. And now look at Bud. Are you gonna fight David? And some people think that it's not fair that Bud picks up that up, but Mayweather was right. You get everything. You know, you might not get the fans, but you get all the problems. You'll get all the money, but you know that becomes yours now. So
Mm.
I think that's really where the real problems are coming for Bud fans.
What do you say to people who say that Crawford's now the cash cow in boxing and that beating Canelo will
I
have
disagree
the
with that
effect?
fully.
I agree. I agree. What is it
Look
because
at
it's a different era or is
look
it
at
because it's
Bevo.
Bud?
Bevo didn't pick up
Exactly.
any more
Exactly.
fans. Bevo didn't start selling pay-per-views. Bevo didn't start selling tickets in America. Yeah, that's point blank right there. Look at Bevo. Look at Lamont Roach. You think Lamont Roach is going to headline the pay-per-view, or do you think he's going to co-main
Damn.
whoever's getting together
Facts,
in December
bro.
with him? You know,
Facts. Good point. Hell yeah.
so
That's a
it's
great call.
it's and that is another thing. Don't come for me, Bud Crawford fans. That does not mean that Bud Crawford is not a great fighter. Being a great fighter and a top star is two different things, man. It's the same thing like in wrestling. Roman Reigns isn't the best in ring talent in this generation, but he's a pretty damn big star. You know,
Mm.
it's okay to be the guy that works with the guy and still be great. That's okay. It's okay that, and not only that, that's been Bud's agenda since he's been on the scene. He didn't care. He wanted to be great. I don't care about selling pay-per-views. I don't care about selling tickets. I want to be great. And that's been
Mm.
Bud's agenda this whole time. But
Hell yeah.
like I said, look at Bevo. Bevo Mario, the rinks said we're gonna do free shows on the zone because of Bevo and Better Beef. Nobody
Yeah,
bought
yeah.
that twice. So it's like that doesn't mean like you get the rub in terms of like, yo, you're great. We want to see you in these fights now, but you're not the guy. You know, you're not the face of boxing when it comes to selling pay-per-views and putting asses in seats. Like they did 71,000 in Vegas, but Canelo did Canelo did 70,000. I think it's one way or the other way. I think he did 73 with Big Joe Saunders in Cowboy Stadium. So what does that
Mm.
say? Is that all Canelo or is it all Bud or is it in a mix? Are the UK fans travel better? Like what is it?
Mm. Bro, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. I want to ask you something as well. I didn't get to talk to you about this since the fight happened, or actually since fight week. You know, we got to talk on fight week, but Supermax brought this point up earlier. And Abe came on. We switched to wrestling. I want to touch on it before I go to wrestling with you. Mex put, yo, but what was the deal with the beef with Turkey and Ring and MGM? Now, I had Mike Woods on Monday, I think it was, and he spoke about a little bit what he could talk about as far as what he had heard about some of the rumblings and the disagreements that were going on. I've heard, so has Supermax, so of a number of other people that I've talked to, that sources are telling us that one of the first disagreements was about the commentary team. Specifically, Dana wanted John Anik and Turkey wanted a completely other team. So it goes there, and then it goes into this moment where Turkey says, now Dana's about to announce something, and then Dana gets on the mic and says, I'm not going to announce anything. I'll see you at the weigh-in. It was weird. It was a weird
Yeah.
moment.
He was like, now here's Dana with an announcement. He's like, yeah, see you tomorrow. That's my fucking
Yeah,
announcement.
dude. Okay, so what did you see and what do you sense? Was it, I mean, just the frustrations of two guys working really hard at one of the biggest promotions of the century? Or do you think that there could be some, I won't say trouble in paradise. We don't know if it was paradise to begin with, but do you think there may be something more to it here?
It could be because it seems like something with MGM and the ring is not, they're not on the same page.
Mm,
And in terms, I never thought Dana was the promoter for air quotes. People were just listening. I feel like he was just the face that's in place of who needs to be the promoter. That way, the Ali Act isn't hurt right now. Because I mean, Mario, me and all you all know, Turki Al Sheikh is the promoter of all this. He's just not the promoter in title, but he's the promoter
mm,
in all this action.
oh, yeah.
Who else? I mean, the guy that's posting about the fight, putting up the money for the fight, buying the locations for the fight, talking about the fight. Is that not what a promoter does?
Exactly.
If he's not a promoter, then what is he? So I think yeah, but it seems like And then that was probably like Dana looked, especially after the Sean Zattel moment. It seemed like Dana was pretty pissed off by that and just never cooled off from it. So I would think that, there's something going on, and I think especially with that comment of, if it doesn't work out, are you going to continue to pursue something in boxing? Then yeah, I think it's like, you know what, well, if we just won't do business, and they don't want to know that that's the plan, because that is the plan, to monopolize and take competition out. So I think the walls are going to be built up in terms of TKO boxing around them to, no, we're not going to work with y'all if this is your plan. This is not what we're going to do.
Yeah, no, I definitely see it in that kind of way. And, it goes back to what we've been talking about with Sean Zattel. Sean Zattel, God bless him, opened up this can of worms that was already open with the Ali Act and everything. Can you hear me? Oh, there we go. And making it public, right? Very, very public. And so, on that stage, he asked whether Dana was still going to be in boxing if that decision for the Ali Act didn't go his way. And that to me spoke volumes about where they could be. I mean, here's the thing, right? I get it. Dana's response wasn't completely unfair. It was kind of chicken shit, but it was not totally unfair, right? Like, this isn't the place. Like, let's set up an interview. Fine. Now, if you were going to actually have an interview, that's a fair point, but I don't think you were. But if you couldn't just answer yes, yeah, of course, I don't care. Listen, I'm in boxing. All right. I've been in I was a boxing promoter before I was in UFC, if you didn't know that, Sean. And so, yeah, I'm going to be in it. Yes. I mean, we're trying to make something special here happen. And if boxing and its community is too slow to move up with the pace, then fine, we will adapt, and we will, that should have been the answer. But the answer was a non-answer, and that spoke more than anything else. So I think we both are sensing something there. This is the problem, Matt. This is the problem when the Nelk boys are the people that are getting the most interviews from UFC and Dana White. It's the problem when, Sean Zattel is sitting where he's sitting on that night and Mr. Beast is sitting where he's sitting. That to me is the bigger issue than all of this. But we got to talk about WrestlePalooza. We have to. I need your opinion on a lot of stuff going on here. First and foremost, I asked Abe Gonzalez if WrestlePalooza was rushed, if it felt rushed, if it felt like it wasn't something that was ready to go. It felt like ESPN said, hey, we're about to launch. We need something big. We don't own Top Rank anymore. We don't own UFC anymore. So we're going to make good on this investment. Now it's y'all's turn. And so they said, well, shit, let's go. We got Lesnar and Cena ready to rock for y'all. But the rest of the card feels a little flat. Not all of it. Some of it feels a little flat. What do you make of WrestlePalooza? Does this feel like a big PLE, or does this feel like the non-Temu version of Saturday Night Main Events?
I feel like this is definitely rushed, because they went from, what was it? They were going to start it next year with Mania to,
exactly.
hey, we're going to be there next month.
Exactly.
So obviously, yeah, it's rushed. They seem to, I mean, for slapping a card together, this is a pretty big card in terms of who's on it and what they're doing.
Yes.
I mean, what the smallest match in terms of competitors is the Usos and the Bronsons. So it's like, but that's still a big match on its own.
Very.
Honestly, I heard what Abe said, and I have to agree with the terms of they saw the word on the street, and they saw that they weren't getting as many subs or people downloading and updating their app to go with it, and they know that the wrestling fans will be there. It's the same thing with Netflix. They knew that the wrestling fans would be there. Same thing when Peacock launched. They knew wrestling fans would go there. Now, where they're going to have problems is the price point, but I feel like it could be a good card, and I feel like this is their strategy now. Like I said, I think it was a year or so ago, is international expansion. They're going to start tearing down borders to where they can take over and just take the show on the road. If us American fans are complaining about price point and how much these shows are, they'll take them somewhere where they'll pay to see it. Example for WrestleMania 2027, that is. They're going to Saudi. Saudi's got the money. Saudi will pay for that. Look at
yeah.
They're gonna get the Royal Rumble. I mean, think about it, Mario. They took away 2 American WrestleManias because it was supposed to be New Orleans and it was supposed to be Indianapolis. They were supposed to be WrestleMania. When are they gonna get their WrestleMania that was promised and paid for?
Mm. Okay. I'm gonna pivot real quick because you just reminded me. I haven't gotten your take on this either. Saudi WrestleMania, as you just announced, or just spoke about, the announcement was made last week, and it was met with some criticism. AAA Worlds Collide, the fans started booing and chanting "You sold out" when the announcement was made live in front of the crowd. What do you make of the Saudi announcement? And what's your what are your feelings on that right now?
I knew it was coming for
Sure,
the
sure.
for
I think you
the
even
thought
said like 2 years ago already. You said, dude, we're going to get that WrestleMania
they're going
Saudi
over there.
version.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I don't know if you saw Monday night how Turkey and Tom Brady announced the Fanatics flag football will be taking place, I think in Saudi somewhere, if not in Las Vegas. But in terms of where everything is going, like I said, international expansion. Just like the way they took down the territories, they're gonna take over and implement the first word in the WWE, which is World Wrestling Entertainment. World
Mm.
is the big key right there. They're gonna, like I said, they're gonna send this to the people that'll pay for it because they're starving for it. Look at France.
Oof.
Like they complained about the price point a little bit, but they still packed the house.
Yeah,
Saudi
yeah, yeah.
Arabia,
You're absolutely right.
as much as people think, from what I've read into and looked into and talked in forums with, Saudi Arabia, they still sell tickets out there. This is not reported, but they sell tickets out there. They're on
Oh,
the
wow.
cheaper side compared to around the world, but they're gonna sell tickets to that. And then the options are endless. They can go to Japan. They can go to China. They can go
Yeah,
to somewhere in Africa. They can go to
you're absolutely
Mexico. They
right.
can go to
See, but
Brazil. They can go
and see,
everywhere.
that's the problem I kind of have with it, right? It's because like if y'all went to the UK or you went to Paris or you rewarded, whoever has been, part of those amazing Euro crowds, then I get it. I get it totally, right? But Saudi, the atmosphere, I mean, come on, like are we gonna really get that kind of WrestleMania crowd in Saudi? I just don't. I feel like
If
it's
you get
gonna
a big
be
WrestleMania card, look at what's rumored. They're offering The
sure.
Rock
No,
and
no, no.
Stone Cold $100 million.
Oh, bro, listen, they could definitely make it a show worth watching. But what I'm saying is that crowd that goes crazy and loses it and has the chance, like, I don't expect that from Saudi. And if that's not the
Mhm.
WrestleMania do you deliver, then is it WrestleMania? It's kind of like when they had the greatest Royal Rumble ever. That wasn't Royal Rumble. I don't care what you say. You could get the biggest trophy you want. You could put 40, 50, 60 people. Man, you could have, what's his name, homeboy slide under the ring and come back the other way. All right. Either way, it's not the Royal Rumble, and it never was. I don't want that feeling for an actual WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be, it would just be so detrimental to me. Um, yeah, it really would. Listen,
I
I,
think
I want
that's
to ask you.
why I think that's why Saudi pushed so hard though to get an actual WrestleMania because they saw their events as non-canonical. You know what I mean? Like these events in Saudi don't really
Oh,
count.
good call. Man,
So
that's a
like,
really good point. Let me just explain that for people. Like, you're absolutely right because you go there and it doesn't feel like the continuity is just broken, right? It almost feels like the All-Stars break for the NBA, right? Like
mhm.
it doesn't feel, just because all the best players in the world are out there doesn't mean that the game feels any more important. And it's because the continuity breaks, right? The drama of, three teams like chasing each other and another team like 6 games behind on like a 10-game winning streak, and like all those dramatic subplots that go into the long NBA season, the long MLB season, they're vital. And when the All-Star break happens, it's like, let's put them on pause. Let's put on a different type of show. You're absolutely right, dude. That's exactly what it almost feels like, an
And
All-Star break. It really
and so I
does.
see I see why they push so hard to like, hey, this is what we want and we're gonna get it. Say, if not, I'm pretty sure they pulled the if not, we'll pull the money and we won't come and we won't have you back. And if you're TKO
Mm,
as a business, you don't want to burn that bridge with Saudi Arabia because look at everything else they're putting money into for your business. The WWE, the UFC, those are the two biggest brands in sports and entertainment to begin with. They're probably the ones keeping you afloat that you why you can have such high price points. So
Word.
I would imagine like, hey, let's give it to them. And the only thing I think eventually, now I had this debate with a few people, Mario, and I'll get your opinion on it. I feel like at one point, night one and night two are going to be in two different locations. I feel
Oh
like we're coming
shit.
up on that at
Oh
some point in the
shit.
future. They way, like, I think they're going to take this away from us, as in like the American fan base, us, and eventually it'll be okay. We'll bring it back, but night one is going to be Wembley. Night two, we'll have it in, let's say, what's a big ass
Paris
stadium?
or somewhere.
Yeah, we'll have it in Paris. We'll have
No,
it in.
that's an
We'll have it at the
amazing idea.
Barclays. We'll have it at where the Giants and the Jets play. We'll have it in Cowboy Stadium, or we'll have it at NRG. You know, you better go. This is your chance because that's that's at least two WrestleManias. I think because I think the UK is getting theirs next after Saudi. So save your money for WrestleMania 50 like me, and hope we can all get in there together.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point. Man, you really opened up a can of worms. I mean, not can of worms. Something for me to chew on there. Okay, so I want to ask you this now. Oh man, I had a follow up for that I really, really wanted to ask you, and then I just read this question that I had for you, and I forgot. So we'll move on. I want to ask you this, and I've been wanting to ask you this. Dude, call it now, please. Tell us. Give me your answer. No more innuendo because I don't know what to think. Is the Karrion Kross shit a work or not? Is this? I mean, I know he's let go. But this is.
Hey, I mean, he's not back, so I guess it's not.
Yeah, that's a good one. But okay, well then let me put a question in this context, right? You understand the narrative of Brian Pillman and what transpired while he was in WCW, leaving, and the deal he made with Eric Bischoff to go to WWE. Now, I'm going to just do like a real quick explanation for those that don't know. Essentially, Brian Pillman he had came up with this loose cannon character, and he came up to Eric Bischoff, who was going to re-sign him, and convinced him to not re-sign him, let him go so that he could go to one of the other companies, make an ass of himself, and then come back. And essentially it would be like, he's so crazy that he's just going to wrestling promotions and working, right? This was almost this was almost the nugget for the NWO idea. It really was. I'm not saying that Brian Pillman deserves any credit for the NWO. All I'm saying is like he was so ahead of his time. Now, what ended up happening is he screwed over Eric Bischoff in WCW and just signed with WWE. But that's where I started to see this narrative. Did they let him go so that it can be a real storyline that he was let go to the point where he eventually comes back and causes chaos, and it is actually part of that? You know what I mean?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe because he's in the true middle of the street in GCW where everybody can go play. So it's a possibility. It's a low possibility because had he shown up in like AAA or TNA on one of the WWE satellites, I would believe it because you can play off like, oh, well, I came here because they don't want me there, right? But I don't think he Pillman himself because it's like, it doesn't seem like the
Like he's
interest was
part of
there when he hit.
yeah.
It doesn't seem like the interest was there when he hit the free market. Like even if you're AEW, I would have took Killer Cross and hey, let's put him on Collision at least and see. Let's ride this momentum and see if he can bring some viewers. But the fact that he's just floating through the indies kind of lets me know like maybe he did. Maybe it was a fact of I want this number or I want my wife with me, and if it's not that, then we're not doing business. Who's to say? Because we've only heard the Cross side of the story. So, but off
Bro,
this side, it kind of sounds like it's like they didn't want Scarlett, they wanted him. And that's what it kind of seemed like to me.
You just basically like said everything that was in my brain for the last like however long this thing has been going on, because you nailed it perfectly, right? Because at some point I'm looking at this whole story and I'm thinking to myself, okay, when does it kick in, right? Like when does it kick in? And it's like, oh, he's been gone, but he's not on AEW. We haven't heard anything about TNA. Why hasn't he capitalized off of this major heat? And that's what you've just put me on to. That's weird. That is weird. Why on earth would you not capitalize? I mean, sure, there could be some sort of issue, right? Maybe medically or contractually, but there's no 90-day non-compete clause. This was the end of his contract. He wasn't
Yeah,
just
his
fired
contract
or let go.
expired.
Exactly. So he had all the chips. He had all everything. You know what I mean? So it's like, why? Why are you not capitalizing on it? That's what makes me feel weird. And I think of, again, I look back at that Brian Pillman thing and I think to myself, that is a storyline that no one ever tried again, that no one ever tried before, really, as far as I know, not in the cable era. So it's like just kind of the perfect time to bring it back. It's almost like what people are saying about Jerry Jones and the Micah Parsons trade, right? They're like, well, I think, Jerry saw the documentary on Netflix and was like, oh yeah, we did that thing where we traded our best player for a bunch of draft picks. Let's try it again. You know what I mean? It feels almost like that a little bit, but then where is he? Why? You know what I mean? So it's a very, very weird situation. I want to get your picks real quick. Cody and Drew McIntyre, who wins this weekend?
Cody Rhodes. I think there's no reason to take the belt off of Cody. I think this is just one of those like, hey, they're gonna have a good match. These are two good names. People know Drew. Drew's big on social. Cody's the biggest star we have. You got to defend the belt because he hasn't been back since SummerSlam, the week after SummerSlam. So it's like, hey, let's get it going.
Abe said he's a perpetual mid-carder, like good, great maybe, but not elite, not a guy that's ever going to top the card. Based on Drew's booking and based on what you're booking for this weekend, do you agree with that? Do you think that Drew is not ever going to be that guy, or is he paying his dues now for a latter career at the top?
That's a great question. When I think about it like that in those terms, yeah, because and it's unfair to him because when he got his run, and it gets tiring. Nobody was there. Like I get it. You were the champ. It was the pandemic. No crowd in the room. You didn't get your big pop of a moment. The time to capitalize on it was the World Heavyweight Championship, but he became big enough at the time where he didn't need the belt. The belt would have been great decor for him to hold and to use. I mean, granted, in hindsight, when you look back, he probably should have been the champion instead of Damian Priest. But I don't see a world where he does beat Cody Rhodes or Seth Rollins for the belt and he is the champion. I wouldn't say he's like a top tier mid Carter or forever mid Carter, but it's hard to, in the main events, he's a main eventer that won't have the belt involved or around him after this. So I would have to slightly agree with Abe, but Drew McIntyre, I mean, look at all the Clash in the Castles. All the Clashes in the Castles were Drew McIntyre.
Exactly, dude. I'm sorry, but Drew was responsible for the best of the company at most of the point in the 2020s. I mean, once that pandemic hit, he was the best stuff on TV other than Roman Reigns.
At
I
that too,
hate
Mario.
to agree with him, but I think I do.
Love our theory. We love our theories up here. Do you think it's just because he was a Vince McMahon guy and he's just, you gotta
I
pay.
didn't even
You
think
gotta
of
pay
that.
the dues that aren't yours.
You might be right about that. I didn't think of that. Damn, good call. Okay, moving on real quick. Sky and Vikur. I expect this to be the best match on the night. Who gets over?
You got to put the belt on Stephanie. I don't see how you don't, especially because Io has had the belt a few times now. She's a good baby face. It looks like they're building up for the feud with her and Asuka, and especially after Monday night. I don't know when it takes place. Possibly Mania. That would be one you could save and build for Mania.
Yes.
But that big money match is going to be Stephanie and Rhea because the crowd will truly be split on who to pick in that match because they love them both.
You got your finger on the pulse on this one.
But I think Stephanie Vacour, it's time. Put the belt on her, strap the rocket, light it, and let's take her to the moon. Let's go. Let's rock with it.
I agree fully. I want to show this. I talked about it earlier on air, and shout out to Matt who sent this to the chat. I didn't get to catch NXT yet. I definitely will. Probably watch both that and Dynamite back to back tonight.
It was decent.
It was decent. Yeah, I'll be
Mhm.
honest. I've heard a few different things that happened, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Well, now I got to watch the whole thing. You know, usually
Yeah.
I'll try to get away with highlights or maybe like 1-2 segments, but yeah, this one sounded like it had a lot of a packed
I will
lineup.
say, it seems like that TNA NXT invasion angle is really going to start because they're going to have a match with Obafemi and Trick Williams. I think it's belt for belt.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Or it's either belt for belt or it's just for the TNA world title. And you noticed on Twitter last night, a lot of TNA stars and wrestlers were tweeting about how this is like blasphemous and it's disrespectful to their belt, and we're gonna do something about this. We all
Oh,
need to do
yeah, yeah,
something
yeah,
about
yeah,
this.
yeah. Oh my God.
So
I can't believe I forgot to bring this up with Abe. And you know, it's fucked up because he's the one who gave me the topic. I want to
yeah,
talk about what you just said, but before that, I want to show this, right? You said
double
that
devil's
Rhea and
kiss.
Steph is the program, and you are so right. They
Mhm.
are doing this exactly. I believe Steph will not only win the title, but after they put the strap around her waist, she is going to walk to the back where Creative is going to strap a rocket to her ass. And she is going to have a push, a real push, trying to elevate her to the level of a Rhea, to the level of a Charlotte, just in time to headline a major AAA crossover event. Penta, we've seen, is already getting in his foot in the door. It seems like Ray may end up at some point getting involved, maybe not in a match itself, but possibly storyline wise, based off of the AAA Worlds Collide stuff. But this was the double Devil's Kiss last night. And oh boy, did it send the crowd and the internet into.
Are you okay?
Yep.
Taking it off YouTube. If you're on YouTube, get off.
I hope Booker T took his blood pressure medicine.